Of course, Jean-Luc was a driving force during my early days of my restaurants, and we all started together on 76th Street, and Jean-Luc came from downtown. I think he was born downtown. One day I asked him, what are you reading every day on your milk crate? And Jean-Luc was reading wine books. And so he was reading, and he was drinking because he was learning. So within a year and a half, I needed a sommelier. And the first one I reached to was Jean-Luc and said, Jean-Luc, you should be the sommelier here at Daniel. And of course, Jean-Luc didn't hesitate and say, I'm taking care of everything. I just want to say it, and we all love you at Daniel. And you still have your mark in the cellar there.
When I first officially met Jean-Luc, I just rolled into his wine store in 2005, unannounced. Prior to that, he called me out of nowhere to ask me if I wanted to work at his retail store. I didn't answer the phone because I was admitted to the hospital because I had a very bad infection on my left leg. And I said, geez, here's what kind of luck do I have? So anyway, after a couple of months of recovery, I finally decided I'm just gonna show up. And I rolled around the store, and I'm looking at this store, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this cannot be, this is not happening. This is completely accessible. Like, this is as if this store was designed for me. And Jean-Luc comes out, and he's so excited, he recognized me right away, and I thought he might be annoyed that I never returned his phone call. And he said, come back with me, we're gonna talk. And he opened up this beautiful bottle of Hermitage Blanc by Chave. And I guess it was my unofficial interview with him. And that's how it worked with him, right? He asked me what I wanted to do, and I just said, I just want to work in some wine. That's what I wanted to do. And he's like, well, then you're at the right place. Not only was he a rock star sommelier or some artist or a musician, he was much more than that. This guy was an incredible humanitarian. This guy had a heart of gold. Each of us, especially here at Bouley, especially the people at Latisse, we're going to make sure his legacy gets carried on. And his legacy is going to be, for every time we give a wheelchair to somebody else, he's part of that. For every time we get someone out of a nursing home into independent living, he's part of it. Every time we fight for somebody's rights, he's going to be part of that.
When light goes away, it's easy to focus on the darkness. And then we forget that the reason the darkness exists is because the light is there. I sat next to somebody for years that cared about people, that cared about the people behind the wines, that cared about everybody standing out here tonight.
How I wish you were here. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. What have you found? Same old feeling. Wish you were here.
Most of you know Jean-Luc because of his almost savant-like knowledge and enjoyment of wine. I know Jean-Luc because of his almost savant-like knowledge and enjoyment of rock and roll music. He was a radio DJ while he was still in high school, and after he graduated, he came straight to New York to see all the shows that he had been reading about, assuming he would report back to the French magazines. He soon found out how much he get paid for writing about rock and roll in French. Nothing. When I met Jean-Luc, I really didn't know what a sommelier was, but we connected on a personal level. And that first day, we walked from Soho across to the village to my place. We spent the rest of the afternoon looking through my files and asking about all of it. It was the start of a great, close friendship. He took me to a lot of top restaurants, and I took him to a lot of top rock and roll shows. He introduced me to famous chefs, and I introduced him to famous musicians. It was always more fun to go to shows with Jean-Luc because he was usually the most excited fan in the room. Most of the time, he would be down front pogo dancing with the teenagers, coming back at the end of the show with a big excited smile and dripping wet with sweat. And he suggested we do a rock and roll wine tasting, that I would talk about one of my photos, say Led Zeppelin or The Clash, and Jean-Luc would then explain what was the best wine to drink with that particular music, and why that particular vineyard and that vintage was the perfect one. Our show went over so well that Michael booked us into this very room, and Jean-Luc and I had a paying audience enjoying our show right here on this stage. And I wish I could keep traveling with Jean-Luc. He certainly lived his life to the fullest, and my life is a lot fuller thanks to Jean-Luc.
I've seen Jean-Luc at the store, and many of you have, having as much fun or more fun teaching somebody about a $15 bottle of wine that's selling a $1,500 bottles of wine. And hence he moved into his next stage, and he opened Le Dû Wines in the fall of '05. And I was also fortunate to observe how he mentored the people he worked with. So Jean-Luc has been with us. Jean-Luc is kind of gone, but he's not totally gone. He never will be, because he was a catalyst in bringing people together, building connections. And to answer your question, Yannick, I know where Jean-Luc is. Jean-Luc just arrived in heaven. And Joel Buckman said, Jean-Luc, welcome to heaven. But where's that bitters 55 you promised Jacques and me? 37 minutes are up. Cheers, Jean-Luc.
Police at the ears in the street. Oh yeah, scaring the nation with guns and ammunition. From genocide to revelation, the next generation will be from genocide to revelation. No one can stop it. All the peacemakers turn on the side. No one tries to stop it. Oh, please be God. Time one of the time. You read in the Bible, page number 1, that's Genesis to Revelation. Now what generation can you tell me? I did not know, I was not afraid. That's outside.